We're going to take a leap and we're going to skip to the first parak. We're going to skip the second half of the first parak, which is Yisar Shishas Yimei HaMaisa, page 76, Ayin Vav. Starts with Neshama Yisera, because, I don't know, I felt we're going to float a Matzah Shabbos for infinitum. Let's get a little bit into the meat and potatoes of things, of Tov Rebelli. Okay, so here we go. Neshama Yisera. Lasaik Ba'ara Shabbos Kol Yemei Shvua. You have to deal with the light of Shabbos the whole week. Ikra derech. What is the main way b'poil in practice? Lizchais, to merit. Likabel, to accept. Ulahargish, and to feel as kedushas Shabbos. How do you do it? Lamaisa, we're learning about these incredible inyanim. We're seeing, how it could be so amazing. But practically, how does one merit to feel a little bit this light of Shabbos? Says the Biyam Darkecha, he al yidesha adam yischayni in Shabbos. You got to prepare. Yasik bara Shabbos b'meshech hashavua. The way to get a good Shabbos is to have a good week. It's to start during the week. Zeh yisoid gadol, and this is a major yisoid sharizal madgish ma'id that Arizal emphasizes. B'navi ma'at medvarav, I'm going to bring a few of the Arizal's words. Hakadosh. V'zel l'shayne. Da, you should know. You have to prepare yourself to accept the light of the extraness of Shabbos during the week. This is a great matter. To sanctify the person. So now we're learning it's shtickle circle. You want to have a good Shabbos? You got to make your week good. And you know what's then going to happen is then the light of Shabbos is going to go during your week. So it's a shtickle kasha. Where does it start? Does it start during the week? Does it start on Shabbos? I'm not sure. But it says the Arizal, if during the week we try to prepare ourselves to get to Shabbos, then during the week we're going to get the light of Shabbos. So when Shabbos comes, we're going to get the light of Shabbos. This is the matter of preparation. That you should know. Every Shabbos, on Shabbos, we get extra holiness. And says the Arizal, and there is no person. It's a reality that each and every Jew, when it comes to Shabbos, there's a bit more holiness that we accept. Each person, his portion. And you have to think about this. So it should remain by you a little bit of that kedusha. And this is going to be a way that you're going to be directing your actions. If you're able to do it. And says the Arizal, it's a promise from the Heilig Arizal. Incredible. The Yetzer Hara will not be able to rule over you. And you're not going to do Aveiros. And everything is dependent. The amount of intent. So what exactly this means is not so simple. But something is what we're learning here, is that when it comes to Shabbos, there's an extra holiness. And we have to figure out a way to schlep that during the week. And then our week is going to be so incredible. Oid Kasav, the Rizal continues, this is the secret. Zachar es yoyim HaShabbos likachay. Mitzvah say it's a positive commandment. We have a mitzvah to count the days of this week. Loimar to say Rishon b'Shabbos, Sheni b'Shabbos. The Ramban famously says this, and this is every single day by the Yom Rishon, Yom Sheni. If you have 1 ounce of intent, it's a mitzvah d'oraisa. When we said today Yom Shlishi b'Shabbos, that was a d'oraisa of counting the Shabbos. What's the d'oraisa? Zachar es Yom HaShabbos l'katcher, remembering Shabbos. The Inyan, L'hoyres to teach us, ki kol yemei achol. What's the purpose? It's to teach us that the entire week Tiluyim is dependent, ukishurim and tied, v'nim shachim and drawn, miyom HaShabbos. Everything comes from Shabbos. Umisham nimsheches lemah rasam, and that's where all the light comes from. And remember this, Shabbos is the battery. Shabbos is the generator that fuels and powers everything. And says the Arizal V'Moisef Amiraydi says, Mashikav Samnu Shi Mitzvah Say Hinei Zegam Moyel Achonas Shabbos. The Achona is part of this mitzvah. Umavur Medvarav. So says the Darkecha, what do we see in the words of the Hilig Arizal? שבמשך כל השבוע יהודי צריך לכוון בקדושת השבס. ובתוספת הנפש, an action neshama, ruach, and neshama shel Shabbos Kodesh. L'chavin, what does that mean? L'achshev aleh, to think about it. L'hargish esah, to feel it. V'lachayoy esah, and to live with it. U'leratzes b'em, and to desire kol echad yavich lasei. So detail number one we're learning today is an incredible chiddush. We always knew there's a din of achana l'Shabbos. We always knew there's a din to prepare for Shabbos on Friday, prepare for Shabbos on Thursday. And when we started this year, we said, oh, we're going to chap ois preparing for Shabbos on Wednesday, right? So Shabbos begins on Wednesday. But the Rizal is telling us even more, Shabbos begins the whole week. And even more, how do you do that? The way you do it is mere thought. Thought. We think I'm trying to prepare for Shabbos. Maybe every day when we say the Yom, Yom, what are we doing? We're being cognizant. We're one step closer to Shabbos. We want to feel it. We want to inject ourselves with that incredible feeling that somehow we got this neshama is here. We got a little extra sanctity, a little extra holiness. We want to somehow connect to that. So now he continues beer Indian. Let's go a little bit deeper. Paninius Indian. What is the depth of the matter? Lama tzarich lechavin. Why? You know, that guy who yells up in the back of the chair, but Rabbi, why? What does it help? So on a Tuesday, I think about Shabbos changes something? What does that do for me? Explains the Biyam Derkecha. You know what it does for you? If throughout the week you're dealing with the light of Shabbos, and you're living if the whole week you're cognizant and you're thinking and you're living with Shabbos, and you're toiling lehashir bikirboy to remain inside of you as an Hashem Yisera, al yedei zechu zoicha. Through that you merit shekemoi b'Shabbos, that just like on Shabbos. During the week, it will be clear. It's really what we learned back in the very beginning of the Sefer, that what is Shabbos in a nutshell? What Shabbos is that Hashem pulls back the curtain a little bit. What Shabbos is Hashem allows us to see that the world is not the way that we perceive it. That what does the world look like how we see it? It looks like Ashmias. Looks like you water the flowers, they grow. You take the medicine, you get better. You work, you make money. That's what the world looks like. What's the world really? Nothing to do with that. What's the world? Hashem. Hashem decides how everything works. Hashem decides, is the medicine going to work? Is the watering going to work? Is the parnasa going to work? It has nothing to do with the stats. 99.99. Okay, who cares? Hashem decides the way it's going to be. Hashem is the only reality. That is something that becomes clearer on Shabbos. That reality, that everything is Hashem, which we always make mention, is really the very, very basic of all Emunah Bitachon. What is Emunah Bitachon? We believe in this grand entity called God, and Bitachon means, and I live the fact that He's holding my hand. What does it mean, I live the fact He's holding my hand? Is I live in a reality, cognizant and knowing that, of course, we live physical beings. Of course, we have to do ishtadlus, but lemais, at the end of the day, what makes it all work? Hashem. That is what Shabbos becomes clearer. So says the B'yam Darkecha, listen to this one. If throughout the week we have a few moments that we try to think, today's Sunday, Yom Rishon b'Shabbos, the first day to Shabbos, it's the second day, it's the third day, we're getting closer to Shabbos. We're cognizant of the fact, Zochar Yom HaShabbos Darkecha, that everything comes from Shabbos. You know what's going to happen? What's going to happen is we're going to be more cognizant. We're going to be more aware that what is today? Oh, today's also Hashem. Just like on Shabbos, it becomes clear because that's the reality that Hashem pulls back the veil a little bit. Just like on Shabbos, it's easier to connect because why? Because there's less gashmi, you can't turn on the lights, you can't do malacha like we learned. Just like the reality that is Shabbos, the more we think about it during the week, the more we'll be able to connect it during the week. It's going to enter the light of Shabbos. Umeir, and it's going to illuminate. Even during the week, and even during the darkness, bikini and gomer, you can have a full acquisition as or hashabish avra. You know what's going to happen? You're going to begin lahachanes aras Shabbos haba for the next Shabbos. Kalidesha kana bikinin gomer. The more that we realize the reality as arshal Shabbos avra, the light from last week. Yachlitzchais b'Shabbos haba. You're going to pull it into next week. Lahara gedayla v'amuki yoser, greater and deeper. B'yaser seis va'ois, more strength. Ba'oifen shekefi kama she'adam amul b'yemaisachol. This is a theme that we keep on seeing. That as much as we put an energy during the week, Sha'ar Shabbos Shem Neshama HaYisera, to connect to that Neshama Yisera of Shabbos, V'adveikis, and the connection, V'amunah, and the belief, V'abittel, and the nullification, L'Hashem Yisbarach Shayla B'Shabbos, Yamshichu, it's going to continue and draw L'Hayr Etzli Kol HaShvuah, Kachu Yizke L'Aliyah Shel Shabbos Haba, and each week it's going to get greater, it's going to get grander. Why? Because we're more and more connected. We're more and more part of this reality of that the world is Hashem. And finally, continues the Biyam Darkecha, that the neshama is this vehicle. Vihine. Harizal madgish b'davar. If we look carefully at the words of the Harizal, it says shemira, the guarding al hanefesh ruach neshama shekibal b'Shabbos. Then what are we guarding? What's this entity? It's the neshama. It's this piece of godliness. It's this piece of spirituality inside of us. What does that mean? This is going to get a bit esoteric, but hopefully we could touch it at a very simple level. What is the neshama? Dainu, achelik ruchani, is that part of spirituality. Inside of us, we have something. What is this? I don't know, but it's some part of God injected into us. And that's what allows us. Ever wonder why sometimes could I feel spirituality? Where does it come from? Where does it come from that I daven well and sometimes I feel? Where does it come from I learn well and I feel? Where does it come from that I do a chesed? Where does it come from that sometimes a Shabbos? Where does that come from? Where does that feeling come from? That feeling is that part of God inside of you is like lighting up. It's like a little bit like it connects a little bit. It's something you can't see. That's what allows us to serve God. Has the spiritual power to recognize the reality. Nimsa, I'm just going to skip that paragraph because it gets into the klipos and whatnot. Nimsa. How do we feel it? How do you feel godliness? You know how you feel it? It's our neshama. Whatever that thing is, whatever our souls are, that's what allows us to feel God. What's the light of Shabbos? Neshama is here. That all comes from that extra neshama that we get. Reishis, Shabbos. How do you get that great light? So the greater you are, the greater the soul is going to be. The shenis, and the greater that you are, the more you could connect to the light. And the light will go over you. You're going to be able to reach. It's sort of like electricity always has two components. Electricity is how much electricity is there, and then you have to be able to contain it, or else you're just going to blow the circuit. So the greater that we become, the greater that now, the more electricity that we have, we could connect to. It's two different things. One is you'll have a greater Shabbos, you're going to have a greater Neshama Yisir, you're going to have more godliness inside of you. But now you have to become a greater person. How do you become the greater person? That's what we do during the week. Because during the week, and if we just go full circle and we just think about this together for a moment, because what happens during the week? On Shabbos, everything is spiritual. You don't do malacha, we don't turn on lights, we don't go to work, we don't do anything. So on Shabbos, what's happening is our internal spirituality is building. But then it comes during the week. During the week it's not true. During the week we go to work, and during the week we do malacha, and during the week we live physical gashmis lives. So what allows the two to connect? What allows the two to connect is that if throughout the week we're cognizant and we remember and we remind ourselves of this entity called Shabbos, it allows us to slowly build ourselves, allows ourselves to become greater kalim, greater vehicles. And now the greater vehicle that we are, the more that we could contain that electricity, the more that when there's more electricity, the more it's going to light up. So it's this beautiful revolving circle. What comes first? What comes second? I have no clue. But what we see over here is something so gewaldic and so beautiful. Is that you have a beautiful Shabbos. Okay, you could stop there. Or we could have a beautiful week, which then allow us to have a beautiful Shabbos, which then allow us to have a beautiful week, which will basically be fueling one simple thing called living with Hashem, called emunah bitachon, called living a life of light, not living a life of walking around feeling, how am I going to get through the next day? How am I going to get past the nisyonis? How am I going to get through this challenge and that challenge? What do you mean? Hashem's holding my hand. Now, the challenges are there and they're real. But the more we're able to recognize it and connect it, the more that slowly and methodically, b'siyata d'shmaya, we will get there.